life after losing you. I realized that I've been rather rude and not introduced myself. I'm AJ. If this is your first time here, I hope you find something in my story that makes you feel less alone. And if you've been walking this path with me since the beginning, thank you. Thank you for holding space, for sitting with your own pain while hearing mine, for breathing through the aches, and for being a friend, listening to my story and my heartbreak and being that support system we all need in times like this. In the last 2 episodes, we started at the end, the day everything changed, and then plunged into the rawness of the immediate grief of my breakup. The panic, the silence, the days, the weeks, and about the first month that didn't feel real. We sat in the moments when everything shattered, when my impulse control button had been turned off and I drove myself thousands of miles to see him. So, if you haven't had a chance to listen to them, I would love if you would go back, take a listen. Maybe there's something in those episodes that are healing for you on your journey. But now, a new question lingers. Was there ever really a chance for us? That question, it's a parasite. It burrows in at night. It wraps itself around my thoughts when I'm quiet, when I'm tired, when I think I've finally found a moment of peace. And it whispers, was it ever real? Seriously, was it ever real? Did I imagine how deeply he loved me? Were all those texts, all those phone calls, all those sleepless nights, all those have you gone for milk lies? He hurt me and I stayed. But then he couldn't do the same for me? Would he have stayed if I would have told the truth sooner? Was this love ever safe? Or was it always just borrowed time? The truth is, I don't know. I think I know. And I would like to share some space with you right now and actually go through it. Was this ever real? Was everything we shared, every laugh, every good morning, every good night, every what you doing, every hi, every whisper, every written and spoken, I love you. Was it all real? Or was I just holding on to an illusion so tightly that I began to believe it was something unbreakable? What a question to ask yourself first thing in the morning. I'd like to believe that yes, it was real. He even said it was real, which is an enemy to myself all on its own. Makes it harder because if it was real, if what I was actually feeling was real, what are we doing? Seriously, what are we doing? What I do know, what is true to myself, is that it was real in the way my heart raced when I saw his name light up my phone. I know it was real in the way my soul felt seen, maybe for the first time, ever. Real in the way that I'd fall asleep to the sound of his voice every night, or his snoring, which was the cutest snore ever. We were sharing dreams and fears like confessions under moonlight. But real doesn't always mean forever. Sometimes love exists fully and deeply in a moment, but somehow it still slips through your fingers because of fear, timing, or truth. That doesn't mean it wasn't real. It just means it wasn't strong enough to him to survive everything. But seriously, was it real? Like, am I crazy for believing in us? For building a future in my mind that felt so solid as stone, only to have it crumble like dust in a single moment of silence? Did he really feel the things that he said? Or was I the only one that was dreaming? I don't think that I'm crazy. I mean, I'm crazy, but I don't think I'm crazy. And while it might be easier to think that I did, I didn't imagine it. It was real for me. And to me, that matters. And even if it was real for him too, people sometimes run from the very thing they crave the most when it comes wrapped up in pain or confusion or betrayal. And to my core, I again feel like this is what happened to us. And while it's taken almost over a year to realize we did need to separate, we need some time apart to heal. It's very hard to walk the healing path and the healing journey when the person that hurt you so much is right beside you. We needed to fix those toxic things that we are to each other, because we weren't always toxic. It doesn't mean that we have to be either in the future. People lie to themselves just as easily as they lie to others. He might have loved me deeply, but not been able to carry the truth or the weight of what came with that love. And sometimes that's hard to hear. So then the question goes into, did I imagine how deeply he loved me? Were all those texts, all those have you gone for milks lies? Was I the one projecting? Filling in the blanks with hope and desperation? Or did he really love me? Like he said he did? And if he did, how could he throw it away so fast, so completely, like it meant nothing? No, I didn't imagine it. Love often lives in the mundane, in the quiet corners. And that's where real love hides, in the ordinary. And he gave me that, day in, day out, 24/7. He showed it in those moments. He showed it every day, from the moment we woke up until the moment we went to bed. And again, I get to the conclusion that I just don't understand why we couldn't win. Maybe it's because love doesn't erase fear. It doesn't cancel out pain. And when things get complicated, and I mean our things got complicated, people revert to what they know best. Running, hiding, and protecting themselves. That doesn't make it a lie. It just makes it absolutely tragic. He hurt me and I stayed, but he couldn't do the same. Why was my love big enough to absorb the pain, the betrayal, the fear, and still choose him? That his love wasn't strong enough to hold space for my mistakes. Granted, I made a lot of them, which we will explore throughout this entire podcast. But why did I get branded as the villain when I stayed through his storms? And we both know I would have weathered more just to keep us whole. This might be the biggest one that I struggle with, but the answer is quite simple. I just refuse to believe it. Not everyone loves the same way. I was capable of loving him through his darkness, but he might not have learned how to do the same for someone else. Some people want a perfect story, not a real one. And I think this also strikes to the core, thinking and knowing that when I handed him my truth, however late or messy it was too heavy for the version of love he believed he could carry. That doesn't mean he didn't care. It means he wasn't ready. But I was. I showed up with my whole heart. And that takes courage in many ways, shapes, and forms. And it takes courage that many people don't have. Would he have stayed if I told the truth sooner? Is it my fault? Did the timing of my confession seal our fate? If I had ripped the bandage off earlier, before the emotions got too deep, before the dreams were drawn in pen, would he have found grace instead of anger? Maybe. But also maybe not. The truth might have hurt no matter when it came. Early truths don't guarantee understanding. They just arrive before expectations build. I waited because I was scared, because I was ashamed, because I didn't want to lose what felt like everything. And while I fought myself daily, still with this concept, this doesn't make me evil or a monster. It makes me human. If his love was conditional on perfection, then the truth would have always been a wedge. If it had cracks that the early truth could have patched, then perhaps it would have survived. But there's no changing what is. There's only forgiving myself for who I was in that moment and learning who I want to be now. Was this love ever safe? Or was it always just borrowed time? Was I ever truly held? Or was I always just keeping something fragile alive with my own breath? Nursing a love that wasn't built to last? Was I trying to save something that was already dying? Was I the only one believing we could last forever, while he was just waiting for a moment to leave? And while it's hard to speak out loud, this love gave me something beautiful and something brutal. It taught me intimacy, safety, hope, and love. Like real, deep, true, unconditional love. It taught me heartbreak. It taught me silence. And it taught me grief. Maybe it was borrowed time, but it was also a time that belonged to me while it lasted. It was real. It mattered. And to this day, I would literally do anything to get it back, to get him back, to get us back. God, I hurt. Some loves come to awaken something inside us, but not stay forever. He might have been my home, but maybe, just maybe, he isn't my destiny. And that hurts. But I need to keep reminding myself it doesn't make it worthless. I didn't imagine it. I didn't fail. I loved. I loved hard. I loved deep. And I loved unconditionally. And that's the bravest thing anyone can do, especially when it ends. And that kills me more than loss itself, because grief is exactly that. It's grief. It's uncertainty. And uncertainty is a disease that eats away at closure. It eats at your peace, and it eats at any of your progress. It kills the ability to move forward some days, and most days it takes away the chance of moving on. And in the absence of closure, we build theories. We do crazy things. We rewrite history in our minds, and we imagine different outcomes if only we had. If only I had told the truth sooner. If only I could have stopped self-sabotaging. If only I had made a different decision. If only I didn't start playing the game. If only I never spoke to him. I've played this game more times than I can count. I've rewritten the script of our relationship in my mind like a desperate screenwriter trying to save the ending, to give us that hallmark ending that I spoke about in episode 1. But every version ends the same currently. It ends with silence. It ends with heartbreak. It ends with me. Alone. I've tried to look back at the beginning to find the moment where maybe we still had a chance. A moment where, if I had done one thing differently, we could have rewritten our fate. But here's what I found instead. There were cracks in our story, even in the good parts. And while we could have sealed them, it would have taken 2 people to do that. Moments where I felt myself slipping through into performance to protect myself, my privacy, my heart, my peace. Even when he was the safest place I have ever been, I wasn't ready to heal then, for whatever reason. Moments where I heard confusion and doubt in his voice, but I told myself it was nothing. Moments where my fear of losing him was already louder than my ability to be honest. I loved him. I love him. More than I've ever loved anyone. And that's what makes this part so hard to say out loud. Because maybe the reason we didn't have a chance is me. I actually know that it was me. And maybe there actually isn't any room to give him faults in any of this. I didn't believe I was enough. Not really. So, when I realized I was in too deep, too fast, before I even realized it, I had to start building a version of me I thought he'd stay for. After it was too late and realized what we had already fallen for each other. I think that is the one thing that I'm looking forward to in the podcast, is to talk about the love in the relationship. I can't wait for all of us to get there. I'm sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole, so I need to get back on track. And when the truth finally surfaced, when the illusion broke, I saw it in his face, and I heard it in the cracks in his voice. He didn't recognize me. And I didn't recognize myself anymore either. I asked myself, if I had trusted him more, would he have forgiven me? If I had have trusted myself more, would I have told him the truth before it was too late? Did I underestimate him? or overestimate the version of me I thought he wanted? Did I ever give him the chance to love the real me? And if I had stood there, bare, raw, honest from the start, would he have stayed? Or even have been interested in me to begin with? Or was this always a ticking time bomb? Was our beginning just a prolonged prelude to the goodbye? You know, I think part of the reason I'm still so broken is because our love felt inevitable. There were too many things that aligned, so many similarities, so many mutual interests. It was like we were meant to be. It was like gravity, like fate, like we were a collision that felt written in the stars. And when those stars started to fall, I wanted to rewrite the stars. I still do. But I guess in reality, even stars burn out and galaxies die. And sometimes even soulmates walk away. When I look back now, I wonder, was he already slowly drifting away while I was still clinging tighter, trying to fix what I had broken? Did he know deep down that I was hiding? Or was he already building a future in his head without me while I was still rewriting the past, trying to fix it? There's no easy answer, but maybe it never really changed. Maybe we just finally caught up to the truth. Maybe it was always going to hurt this way. And still, I hope there was a chance. There is a chance. I hope somewhere in that version of us, we had a real shot. I still do. Because for whatever reason, I can't accept the idea that something that felt so deeply, so beautifully real, so beautifully fated, was never possible. That all this time, all that love, all those nights on the phone, all those dreams we planned, all the ways we knew each other, were just some beautiful illusion. Because it felt real. When we laughed until 4 a.m., when we cried together, when we planned our forever. God, it felt real. But maybe love isn't enough. Not when it's built on fear. Not when it's built on lies. No matter how unintentional those lies were. Not when it's haunted by shame and secrecy. Not when mistakes, or mistake after mistake, continue to happen. I wish I had told him the truth when he first made me feel safe. I wish I hadn't waited until it was too late. I wish I hadn't handed fear the steering wheel of my life. I wonder if he ever asked himself the same kind of questions. Like, did I ever give her enough grace? Did I ever overlook something I should have seen? Did I walk away too soon? Was there ever a version of us where we made it? I don't know, and I don't know if I will ever know. During this podcast, you will get to hear that there was some closure and some conversations. But this episode doesn't end with clarity. It ends with questions, and maybe more questions than when this episode even started. It ends with grief. It ends with accountability. And with an ache I don't yet know how to silence. But there's power in asking. There's power in honesty, even the belated kind. There's healing, I think, and daring to wonder if the answers never come. So, was there ever a chance? I don't know. But I know we loved, and maybe in the end, that was the point. Thank you for being here, for walking with me through these unbearable questions, for holding space for this mess, for the mess of not knowing. And if you're sitting with your own version of this question, I see you. And if it ever feels like too much, please reach out. There is help, and you're not alone in this. And if you're here for someone you love who is grieving, let them ask these questions. Don't rush them to the answer. Just sit. Sit with them in the not knowing. That's where the healing starts. So until next time, be gentle with yourself. Some love stories don't get a second chance, although I'm still praying for this one. But that doesn't mean that they weren't love stories, and that is something you need to hang on to, something to understand, and something to hold tightly to. You've been listening to Life After Losing You. This was episode 3. Was there ever a chance? If this episode spoke to you, please share it. Leave a review, or let someone else know they aren't the only one asking questions without answers. I'll meet you in the next chapter.